Okay, well, welcome to the February 16th Environmental Quality Commission meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with the Environmental Quality Commission, or EQC members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing during this federal, state, and local emergency. We'll start with roll call. So I would like to introduce the staff and EQC members present. So Commissioner Elkins.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chair Evans.
I'm here.
Commissioner Gaylord.
Here.
Commissioner Cabot.
Here.
Commissioner London.
Here.
And I am Commissioner Price. And then we also have a couple members of the staff that I would like to introduce. We have Rebecca Lucky, the Sustainability Manager. Hi, Rebecca. And we have the Sustainability Contractor, Candace Almendral. Hi, Candace. Ms. Almendral, could you please provide instructions to this advisory body and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chair Payne and members of the Environmental Quality Commission. Welcome everyone to the February 16th EQC meeting, and thank you for attending. At this time, we ask that the members of the EQC please remain on screen for the duration of the meeting. You will control your own webcams and microphones. Staff will engage their webcams and microphones to make presentations and respond to members of the EQC. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raised hand feature. I will then have the ability to open your microphone and you can provide your public comment to the EQC then. For those members of the public who are calling in from a landline or a cell phone, please dial *9 to raise your virtual hand. That concludes the instructions and I return the meeting to you, Chair Price.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just moving things around so I can see better. Excellent. So we can now move on to public comment. So under public comment, members of the public may address this advisory body on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the advisory board once during public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. If you're going to make a public comment, please clearly state your name, address, and political jurisdiction in which you live. And just as a note, the advisory body cannot act on items not listed on the agenda. Therefore, the advisory body will not comment on non-agenda issues brought up during the public comment section, other than to provide general information. Ms. Almendral, do we have any public comments at this time?
We do.
Excellent.
We have one public comment. Community member Axelrod, I have given you the ability to talk. Can you unmute your microphone and just give us a test?
Yes, I think you can hear me.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you so much for the chance to speak with you. My name is David Axelrod. I spoke in the November 16th City Council meeting regarding my concerns regarding the use of gas-powered leaf blowers and other similar lawn devices. I don't think that's an agenda item tonight, so I was just going to make a comment about that. Is that correct to proceed? Sounds like yes.
Sorry, we were all muted. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I just want to encourage this group to please move forward with having this be an agenda item, to have the working group that was discussed at the November 16th meeting. At that time, I know that there's still continued interest regarding gas-powered leaf blowers and similar lawn devices, both for the noise and environmental gas pollution that I believe is really detrimental to the health of the kids in our community. I'm a Menlo Park resident. I'm also a pediatric cardiologist, so a pediatrician specialist at Stanford. And in talking with a number of my colleagues, some of whom are literally experts in the world on this, I have full support from a number of members of the Stanford community that really do agree that these devices are deleterious to the health of kids. So I would love to see our group, or your group rather, actually discuss this at a meeting as was discussed back in November. I also had the opportunity to speak with the Palo Alto City Council. They actually asked me to make a comment. A citizen group asked me to make a comment at their city council meeting when they were actually discussing the topic of enforceability, which was one of the main issues that Mayor Combs and the group had, and the city council had back in November, was in part that it's very difficult to enforce. And if I'm correct, I believe Palo Alto City Council just voted to actually create a budget and a plan to enforce their already kind of enacted law to prevent the use of these devices. So while I understand that it's, obviously more complex than just simply banning them, and that there has to be creative and equitable ways to enforce these kinds of laws, I'm hopeful that the Environmental Quality Commission and the City Council can come up with a creative way to actually really enforce this and to make both the air and the noise pollution that they cause
30 seconds.
better.
Community member Axelrod, sorry.
Yeah, just to actually agendize that item, to have the working group formed and to really work on enforceability once we have a law that we can get passed. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Axelrod. We really appreciate your comment. Do we have any other? I see another public comment.
Yes, we do. Community member Grossman, I have given you the ability to talk. Can we test your microphone really quickly?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Please proceed with your public comment.
Great, thank you so much. So thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a Palo Alto resident, although I spend quite a bit of time in Menlo Park, and I just want to support what Dr. Axelrod has said. We've been doing a lot of work over in Palo Alto, where a lot of residents have been concerned about the pollution and noise and impact on quality of life from gas-powered leaf blowers, which obviously have been banned in Palo Alto for 17 years now, but there has been literally no enforcement. So this year, a group of citizens got together and worked with City Council, and were very successful in kind of changing the enforcement mechanism within the city. So we did a couple things. One is the City Council in Palo Alto has stated a priority for this year, for 2022, to focus on health and safety and quality of life, including bullets of air quality and noise. Because noise is something that impacts all of us, especially in this era of working from home. So that is going to be a priority for Palo Alto this year. In addition, they have set aside funding and authorized the hiring of a code enforcement officer who will focus on specifically gas leaf blower enforcement. Previously, the enforcement was done by the police, but it really wasn't, because the police didn't want to spend their time doing code enforcement. And so zero of the complaints that were called in were actually led to warnings or fines. And so now with the code enforcement, we can change that. Also, there's going to be a change in how we do the enforcement in terms of making it more proactive. So not just complaint driven, but actually driving around the neighborhoods and listening and talking to gardeners and helping to educate homeowners and gardeners on the harms of these devices. And Palo Alto is also considering changing the ordinance to allow for citation of not just the gardener, but also the property owner that has hired the gardener. So we're very, very hopeful that with these changes, it will lead to much greater enforcement of the gas leaf blower ban in Palo Alto. And it would be wonderful if Menlo Park could do something similar. I'll also state that there's been really a swell within the community in Palo Alto related to this new era of work from home, which is going on and is going to continue indefinitely, where it's really impacting people's quality of life.
30 seconds, community member Grossman.
Okay, sure. Not to be able to open our windows, not to be able to enjoy our gardens, not to be able to take a walk in the neighborhood without being bombarded by the smell of gas, pollution, and noise. And so this is something that's really impacting quality of life for citizens, both in Menlo Park and in Palo Alto. And so hopefully both communities can come together to address the harms from these machines. And we look forward to a future that will be much healthier for both residents and gardeners as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Grossman. Much appreciated for your comment. Do we have any other public comment at this time, Ms. Almendrall?
Last call for general public comment. It does not appear we have any more public comment at this time. I return the meeting to Chair Price.
Thank you. So we will move on to regular business. Under regular business, the EQC considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions. So the first item under regular business, item D1, is to approve the December 15th, 2021 meeting minutes. Does anybody have clarifying questions before we take public comment? Excuse me. Okay. Ms. Almendrall, do we have any public comment on this item at this time?
Just as a reminder, this is public comment for item D1, approve the December 15th, 2021 Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. Last call for public comment on item D1. There are no public comments at this time. I return the meeting to you, Chair Price.
Thank you. And I apologize for the coughing. It's my dog. He's okay, but he coughs a lot. So that's what that sound is. Okay. So this item is now open for discussion amongst the EQC commissioners. Does anybody have something they would like to discuss about this item? If there is no discussion, is there a motion that we can put in effect regarding?
I move approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabot.
I second it.
Thank you, Commissioner or Vice Chair Evans. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the December 15th minutes on the table. And Ms. Almendrall, do you want to state the motion?
That's all
Or
right.
sorry, I guess we already did
You've
this.
stated
Okay.
the motion. We could move to roll call vote if that's
Okay,
all right
great.
with you, Chair.
Roll call vote is great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Commissioner Elkins,
Aye.
Vice Chair Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Gellert,
Aye.
Commissioner Cabot,
Aye.
Commissioner Linden, and Chair Price.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are moving on to item D2. That item is to consider a recommendation to implement a rebate matching for Peninsula Clean Energy's electric vehicle charging incentive for existing multifamily unit properties in Menlo Park to support the Climate Action Plan strategy goal number 3. The goal to increase access to electric vehicle charging. Miss Lucky will introduce the item and is the presenter.
Thank you, Chair Price, and good evening, commissioners and members of the public. I am presenting, but I do want to recognize that we do have from Peninsula Clean Energy, Peter Amble, who can answer some specific questions about multi-unit properties using the free technical assistance and offered by PCE. And also, as you know, Ms. Candace Almendrall has also worked in this area on past analysis and continues to work on ways to implement cap number 3. So I do want to acknowledge that the efforts and the meeting of the minds on this. So the item tonight is to consider a matching electric vehicle rebate for multi-unit properties in Menlo Park. Let me get my slide going here. There we go. And some background on this. So as you all know, we have a 2030 climate action plan, and the climate action plan has an overall goal to be carbon neutral by 2030. So this is more aggressive than the state and federal goals, which the federal goal is 2050 and the state goal being 2045, although the governor does want to see that goal moved up to 2035 if possible. And if you look at this donut chart that I know you're all very familiar with, where most of our emissions stem from is in the blue area, which is transportation emissions, amounting to 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions in Menlo Park that we typically measure on an annual basis since 2005. And the second being natural gas usage in buildings. So there are 3 strategy goals related to reducing transportation emissions. We've got CAP goal number 2 to increase electric vehicle usage and decrease gasoline sales. We also have CAP goal number 3, which is the focus of this presentation and this agenda item tonight, which is to increase EV infrastructure, which helps CAP goal number 2. And then we also have CAP goal number 4 to decrease vehicle miles traveled, and EV infrastructure where it's placed is also helpful in reducing vehicle miles traveled as well. So these are all very much interconnected elements of our climate action plan. So previous work done on CAP number 3, EV infrastructure, Ms. Elmendrel conducted a EV charging gap analysis that was presented to the City Council and the EQC around October 2020. And really what that analysis found was that 80% of preferred charging occurs at home, with the secondary choices being workplace if it is available or if it's offered, and then public charging, which is intended for kind of the commercial uses, like Uber, Lyfts, other commercial uses that may need that charging or going on longer trips. And so using this kind of information point, we looked at where there might be gaps for residents that live on multi-unit properties that have centralized parking, because the access to charging may not be as straightforward as for those living in single family homes or in single family properties. And so what was found was that there was a severe gap. Less than 2% of multi-unit properties in Menlo Park have at-home charging. And Candace did look at kind of what is there walkable areas within a quarter mile, and we didn't come up with very much more. It only added a 0.5 percentage point to that. And this is really problematic in helping us reach our climate action plan goals, because roughly 40% of housing in Menlo Park is multi-unit properties that have centralized parking, and that's 4 or more units, so not really including the duplexes that may have better access to a plug. So this really impedes our ability to reach our climate action plan goal to be carbon neutral by 2030. And as part of this work that was presented to City Council and the EQC, there was potential rules for requiring EV charging at existing multi-unit properties. But the idea, while it would help reach the CAP goal for this, the council and I don't want to correct the EQC, but it was not necessarily the direction that either one of the commissioner or the City Council wanted to go, just because of the potentially unintended consequences toward rental rates and having a requirement. So I'll go into a little bit more detail what the council did direct as a result of that. But I do want to touch on some of the ongoing kind of information we continually find about equity issues between financial and charging access disparities between renters and condo owners versus residents living in single family homes. So with at-home charging, it really helps further secure fuel savings, because there are special utility rates that are offered for off-peak and overnight charging. And the state and Peninsula Clean Energy does have a goal to offer 24/7 clean energy in the near term. So that's an area where residents have their car parked overnight. They're not really moving around a lot. There's also no access fees that you typically see sometimes in public charging. There's no by the minute charging cost. It's a straightforward cost for energy consumed. Not all public charging stations are set up that way, but most of the fast chargers are set up by minute charging costs. And there's also no time limits as well. So there's a lot of can be quite a bit of competition. I know there is in Menlo Park for some of our public chargers. They're always in use. So there's also competition for public charging that can result in longer wait times if you don't have at-home charging. So the City Council direction from April 2021, which was the last time City Council discussed this, was that resources would be used to monitor the effectiveness of state and regional charging infrastructure incentives, and that the city would promote and market the incentives to multi-unit property owners using existing databases and communication mediums. And when the council adopted this portion of the direction, a lot of the state and regional incentives were kind of just getting off the ground, particularly Peninsula Clean Energy's incentives. So we were not able to really collect a lot of data until the end of 2021 on what's the reality for multi-unit property owners. And also as part of that direction, the council wanted to allocate $5,000 to $10,000 in additional incentives to motivate at least 2 multi-unit property owners with existing units or buildings to install EV charging. So I'll talk a little bit about the outcome of that. So just to give you an idea of what the current PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy rebates are, they offer for existing multi-unit properties, level 1 charging. They'll provide a $2,000 incentive, and there's no cap on that. For level 2, they offer $4,500, and there are some caveats to that. It's up to 75% of the project cost with a maximum of $36,000 per property. And they also offer main panel upgrades of $4,000, which is really helpful because eventually many of these multi-unit properties will be encouraged to switch from natural gas appliances to all electric as well, which may sometimes require an electrical upgrade. And just to make sure we're all on the same page of what's the difference between level 1 and level 2 charging. Level 1 charging is your basic household outlet. It takes about 8 hours to probably get a half a charge on a 150 mile range EV. Level 2, you can get more charging in a shorter amount of time. And that's the ones that we typically see mounted to walls in a car garage, or if you've gone to City Hall, you can see them. They're in quite a few places. So there are no incentives offered really for fast charging, because that does get quite costly. You're talking about $20,000 to $35,000 to install the fast charger, and then there's the same issues with trying to get people to take turns of who's going to charge next. So there are additional incentives for affordable housing multi-unit properties. There is a $2,500 for level 1. All the other levels remain the same in the main panel upgrade. And there's no cap as well for affordable housing. So the status of the City Council direction outreach was scheduled for the fall of 2021. And we wanted to meet with PC just to understand what outreach has been conducted to multi-unit properties, understand who might be participating in their technical assistance program, to kind of find ways that we can maybe encourage some of those participating that are not moving and use the funds that City Council allocated, the up to $10,000. But what we did learn was a few things. And so we paused on the outreach to kind of rethink the incentive and consider a matching rebate incentive program. So what we did find is that 6 multi-unit properties have participated in the free technical assistance. And the free technical assistance really includes quite a bit. It includes site visits, it includes load analysis, contractor bid support, permanent installation process support, and rebate assistance. It also helps a property owner really understand kind of, they may come in with what they think they want, like maybe it's 1 or 2, but the Clear Result, which is who PCE uses to help produce the analysis, they provide 3 different options to the property owner, one that really kind of maximizes their potential and maximizes the rebate amount. So whether it's more level 1s, some level 2s, and really encourages and informs and educates the property owner on what they could do to future-proof EV charging for their residents. So despite the free assistance and the rebates, it isn't enough to motivate installation. So to date, none of the 6 multi-unit properties that have used the technical assistance have taken advantage of the rebates. And part of this is that the cost is still a barrier. The cost of the property owner, their cost share is between 45 and 75% for the property owner. And typical incentives that increase participation, just, looking back over time and some of the ones I've been involved in, from water rebates to energy efficient upgrades, usually you get participation of between 0 and 15% of cost share to the property owner or the applicant who's applying. And this is also kind of further reinforced with the way the Bay Area Air Quality Management District has set up their charge program, which really is geared toward very large multi-unit properties versus like the smaller multi-unit properties that Menlo Park has a lot of. But they do require that at least those applicants share their cost at 15%. So again, it is kind of the sweet spot for people to participate in incentive programs. Also, there's a lack of time and effort to really project manage. So even though there's this free technical assistance, the property manager or the property owner still needs to coordinate with the tenants. They still need to be, finding the contractors and still be a part of the project to make sure it's successful. And so the cost does remain a major barrier. So what we were learning is that even if we offered the $5,000 to $10,000 that was allocated by the city council, it just still wouldn't be enough to motivate the current projects. And I'll go over the projects that we've looked at in a couple of slides. So just to recap, that the challenges with EV charging is really that at-home charging is a critical aspect to purchasing an EV, and multi-unit access is going to be very critical to meet Menlo Park's goals to be carbon neutral. So there's about 451 multi-unit property sites in Menlo Park. There are 4 units or greater, and that doesn't include the condos properties. And state and federal support is anticipated to be coming, but once it's allocated, it does take several years to implement. We don't know the structure of those programs, so it does reduce the ability to meet our goal over the next 8 years. And as I mentioned, the principal barrier is the cost. And there's been a couple of presentations about building electrification this week to the public and building professionals, and they did talk about EV charging. And PG&E has even some of their incentives. They're finding that the cost per port is up to $18,000. And the equity implications are very real between renters and kind of sticking them either with the bill to install charging on their own on a property they don't own, or having to really scramble and find charging somewhere else that's cost effective. So the proposed program for a matching rebate structure would be essentially matching what the PCE rebate is. So for example, level 1 charging for a household plug outlet, $2,000. Menlo Park would match it up to another $2,000. So that would bring the total rebate to $4,000 and cover up to 100% of the project cost. So if a project for some reason costs $3,500, the PCE rebate would take the priority. So they would use up their $2,000, and then Menlo Park would cover the $1,500 portion of that. And so for level 2, same thing, $4,500. Menlo Park would match it with another $4,500, and that would they should offer up to $9,000, up to 100% of the project costs. And affordable housing would remain the same too. We wouldn't match it for the main panel upgrade. Those costs seem to be about right for a panel upgrade at this point in time. So the potential impacts to some of the Menlo Park projects that have used the technical assistance. So PCE was able to provide us with some information about these projects. looked at projects of varying size. So I'll go through each of these. So the first one is a 4-unit complex. They're proposing to install 4 level 2 ports. And so the estimated project cost is about $40,000, and the PCE rebate would cover $22,000 of that. So that would leave the cost share to the property owner at 45%. If Menlo Park matched its rebate, it wouldn't match it exactly at the 22,000 because the project costs a bit less. So Menlo Park would offer support of up to $18,000, and that would have a cost share to the property owner of 0%. So for the 41-unit property, the proposed port installation is 9, and the cost is about $103,000. The PCE rebate would cover 36,000 of that, and the owner cost share is 67%. With the Menlo Park matching rebate, it would drop it down to 32%. For this larger multi-unit property of 68 units, they've got a mix of level 1 ports and some level 2s. The cost for that project, $175,000. The PCE rebate would cover $54,000, but the property owner would still need to cover 69% of that. With a matching Menlo Park rebate, that would drop it again down to 39%. So it cuts the cost share by half. I think some important points about this table is that some of these do include panel upgrades from PCE. So as I mentioned, the Menlo Park rebate wouldn't cover that. It does support smaller multi-unit properties. When looking at our total multi-unit properties that are 4 or more, about 58% of our multi-unit sites in Menlo Park are between 4 and 19 units. And so they would really probably get into that box of 0 to 15% cost share. That is a sweet spot for people to participate. It may still be out of reach for the medium to large unit properties. So implementation and administration of a potential program like this. So PCE would be able to administer the program for the city. The applicants would basically go through the same process that they've been going through with PCE. They would just offer the Menlo Park matching incentive on top of that once the project is complete and they've verified everything is all good and compliant. And so for the fund administration, Peninsula Clean Energy would essentially invoice Menlo Park for the dispersed incentives. There may be a small fee to reconfigure the incentive administration platform. This is typical to other programs we've dealt with in water conservation. And Menlo Park will also have access to the project level data. So we'll have a lot of insights to what's happening with multi-unit properties in Menlo Park. And I would also just add that we've given pretty significant rebates in the past for water conservation, for commercial and multi-unit properties to conserve water. So there is some past history where we've done this. I think we've given up to like $40,000 for water efficient landscaping, just because the cost is high and there isn't a whole lot of motivation to sometimes do that kind of a project. So the budget and resources to implement this program. So PCE requires a minimum of $250,000 to implement the program on behalf of Menlo Park. So anything smaller than that amount becomes very complex for them to kind of utilize their resources to make that happen. It also at least helps the ones that we know are not necessarily moving. And it can help also fund other projects and kind of create that enhanced marketing effort. So even if the funds run out, we're still having properties enroll in the technical assistance so that they're getting information and that they're getting education about what they can do at their property. $500,000 would enable greater port development, and the funds could come from a combination of sources, mainly from the Climate Action Plan, Capital Improvement Plan funds, some from the general fund, depending on the budget amount. And there are other existing funding options that we're exploring too. And those could include we don't currently charge for our public charging stations, but that is something that has been on our agenda because they are highly used now. We didn't charge before because we wanted to incentivize people to do that, but that's another area that we could explore to support the funding of a program like this. So some benefits, the project can really serve as an important pilot and a catalyst to create local case studies and motivate other existing multi-unit properties to install EV charging. It can begin to create that competitiveness with renters who may prioritize rental units that have an on-site EV charging. It also help protect those potential impacts to rental rates by decreasing the capital cost share. So instead of that cost being passed on to the renter, it's a much smaller percentage or it's zero. So it kind of reaffirms the equity in that circumstance. It can also pair well with other programs and incentives for building electrification. And the idea is to really report back to you, the commission and the city council, to determine next steps. So maybe no one takes advantage of this program. Maybe only the smaller ones do. It's really looking at kind of what was the outcome of this and how could we use this information to implement other projects or programs for CAP number 3 in the future. So the impacts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, as I mentioned, transportation is the largest part of our community's commissions. The carbon factor for gasoline is larger than other fossil fuels being consumed in the community. And over the next 8 years, to get existing multi-unit properties to be carbon neutral, to help their residents be carbon neutral, is going to be a heavy lift than other sectors that have maybe more of a straightforward approach to getting there, because multi-unit properties do need to tackle both building and transportation electrification. And that's a pretty big ask. So some considerations and next steps. So this is basically the slide I showed before. So the matching rebate would just match whatever PCE is providing. And the eligibility for Menlo Park would be existing multi-unit properties with 4 or more units. So PCE does have rebates available for new multi-unit developments that go above and beyond a city's code requirement. So this wouldn't apply to those. It would be for multi-unit properties with renters and condo owners that have that centralized parking, which generally have the least access to at-home charging because it's more complicated with shared meters and other factors. So some considerations. So the pilot for $250,000 could support several multi-unit properties in Menlo Park with marketing and outreach efforts. You'll get some GHG reductions related to CAP strategy goals 1, 2, I'm sorry, that should say 4, with charging stations 1, 3, and 4. No, I'm sorry, it shouldn't be 2. Oh my goodness, I'm getting my CAP goals all mixed up today. 2, 3, and 4. There would be less budgetary impacts as it uses mainly the CAP CIP funds. For something greater than $250,000 to support the projects, to support more projects and more deployment, it would reduce more GHG emissions because you're getting people to kind of get into that concept that I have at-home charging, I can get an EV, which is great. The budget kind of constraints around that is that we might need to look at it like other funding sources to get to that number. Marketing it, we could do just marketing and outreach with no additional Menlo Park incentives. That would include kind of foregoing the $10,000 allocation from previous city council direction, just because the amount of staff time it would take just to find somebody and see if they would even bite at that would not be the most productive. And then I would say that, based on what we're seeing with these 6 projects, we're not probably going to see a whole lot of GHG reductions. So the recommendation and next steps is for the EQC to consider making a recommendation to the City Council regarding the implementation of a rebate program that could match PCE's EV charging incentive for existing multi-unit properties. And then this would be presented to the City Council over the next couple of months. So that concludes the presentation, and Mr. Amble is here as well to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lucky. Do we have any clarifying questions from commissioners before we open to public comment? Go ahead, Commissioner, Evans.
Thank you. Thank you for Rebecca and Candace for putting all of that together in response to many of the questions I think that came up at the last time this was discussed. I have a bunch of thoughts, but there's two clarifying questions that I hoped that someone might know. So the first one is, it might be a question for PCE. So I've heard that PCE is engaged with some separate vendors that provide sort of secondary systems on top of the charging that allow building owners who employ level 1 chargers to figure out the individual billing so that property owners don't end up absorbing the whole cost of everybody's charging. And I'm curious where that might be at and if that's been priced out and what that might look like.
Pardon me. Sorry. Hi, all. Peter Ambu here from Peninsula Clean Energy. I'm an associate programs manager in charge of the EV charging infrastructure program that we're talking about tonight.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
Sorry.
So in response to your question, so in terms of a whole building solution, that's not something that I am aware of nor I have had conversations with. Now, in terms of let's say, point of charging, so the box itself, we have been in conversations with a couple different level 1 vendors. And so those are what we call smart level 1. And those are more or less just a box that has a level 1 plug on it and it has all the brains in it, right? And so that is something that we are actively discussing with properties. There are 2 vendors in particular who we've had conversations with. We actually did a pilot with one of them. It was our low power charging pilot with a company called Plugzio, where we installed these units at 3 different multi-unit dwellings. And I'm not remembering the cities off the top of my head right now. And the other vendor that we are engaged with called Orange Charger, they have actually completed an installation through our program and received incentives. They have 3 more that are soon to be submitted and another 4 that are in the pipeline. So smart level 1 is becoming, or I shouldn't say becoming, because it's a couple projects in a sea of many, but we're hoping that it becomes a bigger component to projects. In addition to that, with some larger multi-unit dwellings that we've been working with, these are chiefly multi-unit affordable housing developers. They want to use smart level 1. That is their preference, and so that's included in the pricing and estimates that we provide. It's not included in these because the owners or the board of the different MUDs didn't want that in the scope. But the cost for smart level 1 relative to a level 2 is fairly insignificant. It's orders of magnitude less expensive. I hope that answered your question.
It does, and maybe we can discuss it. I was just trying to figure out if that would help, if including that or getting maybe even our city to subsidize part of the cost of those secondary systems might incentivize more building owners to take on level 1 or to feel more comfortable with level 1. But that's more of a discussion, I suppose.
Yeah, and those costs of those secondary systems, or it would just be the smart level 1 unit is an eligible cost in our program already. So the cost for one of those units is only $300 plus tax. So let's call it $350, right? So that's pretty low compared to the cost for level 2, which could be upwards of $15,000 on the low end, but probably closer to $2,500 if kind of the meaty part of the bell curve, right? And then there's some operating costs that are tied to it, which have different models depending on which vendor you go with. So who pays for those operating costs depends on the vendor type.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gaylord.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca and Peter. I have a question about the contractor list. So, as a warning, I'm familiar with electrification costs for lots of things and different novel technologies. And so these costs strike me as high. And so I'm wondering, is your contractor list limited if people want to access the rebates?
PCE uses union labor for this program. So that's one of our sustainable workforce policies. So a requirement for any project receiving incentives from PCE through this program is to use union labor. So the costs that are shown there include the prevailing wage rate for San Mateo County, which is basically nearly essentially union rate.
And what is that roughly?
I hope I don't misquote this. I believe it's between I'm going to say 110 to 130 an hour. I think I need to check it. The last time I looked at it was last
That's
year.
okay.
I didn't know what
Ballpark is fine.
Yeah. So the cost though for the projects that we showed there, each of them has their own unique flavor. So in the first project where it has 4 level 2s, the landlord opted for a solution in which they're doing 4 panel upgrades, and they are tying each station to the meter for the specific unit. And that was their choice. They wanted to do that. So we're doing 4 panel upgrades, which drives the cost up. And the panel upgrades can be between $35,000 to $5,000 per upgrade. And so that was something we were trying to avoid when we can, is any panel upgrades, right? Because that's going to drive the cost up, but that's what they chose to do. So that one has a really high cost because of that. The other 2, particularly the last one, is really driven by the layout of the site and the trenching that's involved. There's roughly probably 30 to 40 feet of trenching through cement, and there's well over probably 1,500 feet, or about 1,500 feet of conduit and wire run on that site because of where the stations are located. So all of this is to say that the labor rates in here aren't really the big cost driver for these projects. It's really the electrical infrastructure that needs to be fixed and upgraded, and then the layout of some of these sites, which are really at the request of the property owner and where they want the stations to be.
Sort of a follow-up, but would it be possible to see the detailed cost breakdowns? Not tonight, but at some later time.
And I think we can do that. And when you say detailed cost breakdowns, what are you specifically looking for, just to make sure that I get those numbers correct?
The things that you're saying. So this would be how much for the panel upgrade, how much for the conduit, how much for the trenching, if it's, equipment versus labor, if that's broken out. But
sure, I think we can do that.
And so to answer the question that I want to make sure I got it, is the contractor list limited? I heard it that it's prevailing wage, but can any contractor who has union labor provide the services, or does it a limited list?
No. Anyone who is a union contractor is able to provide the services. The list I think you're referencing is what a trade ally list. So at the beginning of the program, we, in partnership with IBEW, which is the local electrical union, recruited 13 contractors just to be the partner contractors for the program. And we did that to help streamline the bidding process and to make it easier for building owners who may have never done these projects to find a contractor who knows how to do this, because that can be a confusing process if you've never done an EV project or you just don't work with contractors a lot. So we have lists to make it easy, but anyone can use any contractor provided they are a union signatory.
Okay, great. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cabot?
Yes, I had a clarifying or two clarifying questions. One was, it looked like one of the services provided was contractor bid support. And so did any of the contractors bid the jobs, or was the cost estimating done elsewhere?
So the cost estimates that are shown here are done by ClearResult and ClearResult's electrical engineering team. So they're using prevailing wage rates. They're using a book called an RS Means book, which is basically the standard costing book used by pretty much all estimators in the construction industry to cost out projects. So they're going by industry standards to cost these out. The bid support that was noted, that's in reference to reviewing bids, reviewing scope changes, reviewing changes in the bid while the project is in process to make sure that, okay, yes, this makes sense, we should do this, right? For the three projects that are shown there, one of the projects was bid, but the site owner has opted to go with a contractor who they have a relationship with, through other projects that they've done, who is not a union contractor. So which means that they're going to be pursuing the project on their own. And then the other two projects, for one reason or another, are not at that point. The bigger project, the biggest one, is because it's an HOA board, and so they're having a lot of discussions about what they want to do, because for many of these sites, these scopes that are being provided by ClearResult are really the first time that they've ever seen costs. Or really thought about this project, and so it can take some time for them to decide what makes the most sense for the tenants and residents.
So if I understood you correctly, the project that is chosen to use another contractor that's not among the 13 union contractors, that one won't be getting any PCE rebates?
That's correct, yes, because they're not using a union contractor.
Right. And so my other question, you've clarified how the 4-unit project is going to be wired, that the energy flow goes across the apartment unit meter, so the tenant pays for the increased electric use. How are the other two proposed to be metered, and who pays?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for the larger project, it's really there's two kind of separate components to it. So there's a level 2 component, and they have a billing element to it. So they can track energy usage. They can do point of sale charging for electricity, right? So they're not, that component of it is less of a concern, because you can pull out your phone, start the charging session, and then pay for it right away. So and then it just goes into whatever account you set up, and then they just pay from that account into the utility bill, right? And then because you do also know the amount of power that came through that, you can also back it out of your utility bill if you want. They're not necessarily sub-metering; those are putting it on its separate meter. For the other level 2 stations, because they're level 1 stations, because they're spread out based on who in the HOA wanted a station, right? They're not all together. My understanding is that they're on a common meter, and the options that they have, and I don't know where they've landed on it. I'm not sure if they had this discussion yet. We're twofold. One, it could be smart level 1, and so they know, great, that's unit A's, and they've used this much, and great, it's gonna the property manager can see how much each unit charging station is used, and then it is added to their monthly bill, right? The second way, which you could call a pet fee approach, is say, look, we've run the numbers, and we think that if you pay $50 a month, right, picking a number out of a hat, it's an all you can charge, right? We know that it's going to, on average, it's going to cover basically everything for a year. Some months are going to be high, some months are going to be low, but no one's going to be, out of pocket or lose money on that. So those are the kind of two options. And I believe those are on a common meter. And then the middle one, which is all level 2, they again, I believe it's on a common meter for the garage. It's not on individual unit meters.
All right, thank you very much.
Commissioner Evans?
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Your responses are very helpful. I appreciate it. This might be a question for you and maybe for Rebecca. I think what I would love clarification on in your conversations, perhaps with these 6 building owners, is especially for the ones that are leaning heavily on wanting the level 2 over the level 1. My understanding is that one of the big drivers for building owners, besides the fact that of course level 2 is faster and people like them more so, but one of the drivers for building owners was that they do all of the tracking. But you're saying that for roughly somewhere around 350 you can do the smart level 1, so that that billing issue becomes less of a burden for property owners who are employing level 1. So then what, in your view, or sort of based on your conversations with them, what do you feel like is driving their preference away from level 1s, given that they're cheaper, towards level 2 if they are so much more expensive? Besides just sort of the obvious fact that level 2s are, a more desirable asset for the building, what concerns do the building owners have that might be moving them away from considering level 1 charging more so?
That's a good question. So I think I'll answer that in part with just a quick summary of how PC approaches the design of these sites. So for level 2 stations, we always design them with an automatic load management system, which means that based on the number of cars that are charging, a certain amount of power is allocated to each car. And by doing that, we're trying to reduce the amount of power that is being demanded by the stations to reduce the likelihood that we need a panel upgrade or something further down the line. And then we approach level 1, where we would put level 1 in every single parking stall if we could, right? That is your dedicated stall, and now is your dedicated charging station, right? And the majority of parking stalls in San Mateo County at MUDs are dedicated. So with that in mind, the level 2 and the preference for that is really because the level 2s are installed in the shared parking, where folks can plug in 4 hours, move, right? And so you can have maybe a higher throughput of vehicles in the shared stalls than trying to electrify multiple stalls for multiple residents. So I think there's maybe a slight preference because of that approach, right? They're landlords and property owners are thinking, well, what is the easiest solve? And the easiest solve might be level 2s in the shared parking, right? And that could be anywhere from 4 to 8, depending on the number of your stalls you have. Whereas, a larger and arguably, potentially better solution is level 1s in all the stalls. So everyone has charging in their parking stall when they show up. But that may require, it's slightly more complex. It may require more time. It may be a slightly costlier, and it's a bigger project. But in the long term, it's probably a much better solution, right? Because you're providing charging to everyone. So, I think there could be a slight, preference to what's the easiest thing to do today, right? What gets me to charging today? Then what gets me to a sustainable charging infrastructure for 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, when EV adoption hockey sticks, right? And we're adding tens of thousands of EVs to the fleet per year.
So thank you. That's helpful. So in the 6 that are being proposed for this potential pilot, the ones that were the level 2s all in shared spaces? Yes.
Yes, that is our
Thank you.
design strategy. We
Yeah.
don't put level 2s in dedicated spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gaylor.
Yeah, sorry, a follow-up question. You mentioned an HOA. Does that mean that one of the projects is a condo?
I say HOA, and that's what they call themselves. I think it's just a board group for the building organization. I don't believe it is. I don't know if it is specifically a condo. I don't know if they call themselves a condo, but they have a board and a governance group who we are working with for that. But I can confirm that for you if they're legally defined as a condo or not.
Okay, I was just, it raised a question in my mind, which was, if this is for a condo situation, which would technically be a multi-unit
Mhm.
property, then those folks own their units and, it's, this is a property improvement. And so when they sold their unit, they would recoup that cost. And so it's like, why would the
Yeah.
city be paying for that?
That's a good question. So condos are an eligible property type in the PCE program. So that's something we're supporting, and we're in discussion with a variety of different condo associations up and down the peninsula. So we've come to realize that there are a lot of different rules governing what a HOA or a condo association can or cannot do to the kind of the public use areas in the parking lot. The access to power is one of the things, right? Because that's a common area thing. Usually they don't have their own panel, right, tied to their parking spot. Usually the parking is, while they own their stall, is in a public area, and they have to use public, a common panel. So, we're coming in and saying, okay, this is what it will cost you to add power to bring charging to those stalls. Now, how you want to do the accounting on the back end and assign cost of, okay, yes, we upgraded this panel and it cost $10,000. I'm making numbers up, and it costs another $2,000 per port to install the stations. Well, the panel has capacity for those 10 stations we're adding, plus another 10 more. So who fronts the money, right? Does the HOA front the money for the 10,000 and pay in to access the panel capacity power? Those are questions some condo are asking us, and we're putting it back on them and saying, well, I think it depends on what your accounting practices want to be. Some condo associations they're fine. They're like, great, we have a improvement budget, and it's part of our capital improvement budget or for common areas. And they're saying, great, if it's a common area, we'll upgrade it. And then if you want something added to your stall, then you have to buy in for part of it, right? And so,
okay,
as an example, for the stuff that is not covered by the PCE cost, then that could be shared, right, across the owners who are getting the station, and then part of that budget. But it really is a case by case thing.
okay, thanks. Sorry, one last question. ALMS, automatic load management systems, are those being used for the level 2 shared chargers? Yes. They are in all cases, or that's like an upgrade?
No, that's in all cases. So
Okay.
we design it out of the gate like that.
Okay.
And not all ALMS systems are software based. So depending on how you wire them, you will use less or more of a software platform. But all the stations come out of the box with that capability, inherent. So you're not necessarily paying more for that capability.
Okay, that's it. Thanks.
I have another clarifying question. I think it might be for Ms. Lucky. And you may have mentioned it, but I was curious about the housing stock by the categories that were shown, like the Menlo Park housing stock by those categories that were shown.
Yes, do you want to see a breakdown? Like,
I was just curious if we knew that, because I think that if we knew like what percentage of the housing stock falls into those three buckets. So what percentage would be in the bucket that with this additional subsidy would be 100% covered versus the others?
yeah, I think I've got a slide that might help with that. Can you see it?
Yes. Okay, so
Uh,
that's what you were talking about when you said, and so 4 to 19 units, is that, and then can we contrast that with the other slide of the scoping for the solutions and the cost structure?
Sure. So with the project, do you want to see them? Ooh, I could try to pair them together. The project data you're looking for, right?
Yeah, I thought it was the one that talked about like with the added incentive and what is the total cost.
For the cost share, this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so most of our properties wouldn't even really, I mean, there are some, but a lot of them fall between 4 and 19.
4 and 19. Yep. So we would assume that the cost would be somewhere between 0 and
15%.
Yeah. Okay. That was my question. Yes,
Actually,
Commissioner Evans.
I had a follow-up question to Commissioner Price's question. Is the example that you have in that one table shows the 0% cost share after the pilots for the 4-unit one, but they wouldn't all be at 0. They would be somewhere between 0 and 15. Is that right?
I think so. I could have Peter chime in, but yeah, it depends on what they're doing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So I would say that the hope is that it would be between 0 and 15. Now, every building has its own unique challenges and issues. With Menlo Park, a lot of the building stock is older. So you have older electrical infrastructure, and this is really the panels. So pretty much I shouldn't say pretty much, but I would expect the vast majority of projects in Menlo Park will require a panel upgrade, just no matter what. So that already adds cost to it. And so PC's trying to cover that, but depending on the size of the project, the number of the panels, it will increase, right? So I think the hope is that we could lower the cost as much as possible, but with older buildings, there tends to be more work associated with it. So a 0 to 15 would be a reach. I think a more realistic might be 15 to 25, maybe 30%. And it also depends on the number of ports that are installed, right? So more ports, less cost per port, you spread it out. There's some economies of scale there. So when you go in and do smaller projects, you tend to get a higher cost per port, and then less incentive. So that gap, right, looks bigger than it maybe perhaps is if you do a more efficient project cost-wise.
Thank you.
Can I ask another clarifying question then? So the existing incentive is per, right? It sounds like what you're saying is existing incentive, and therefore the matching incentive would be per unit. But we now know that by port, per port. But we know that the majority of Menlo Park's housing stock is between 4 and 19 units, meaning the majority of the projects would be that smaller scale project potentially that you described. And so it seems like the incentive, even with the additional incentive that we're proposing, it doesn't necessarily directly match. Sorry, that's a discussion. But what I'm trying to understand is the incentive matching is not necessarily directly tailored to create incentives that map to Menlo Park's housing stock.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. So the intent behind the incentive structure is to make it as simple and easy to implement as possible. And so just so we can go out of the gate as quickly as possible, designing a more custom program and custom incentive tied to the Menlo Park, housing stock, that will require more time, and analysis to do, and would kind of delay our ability to go off and provide support, right? So it's meant to be simple, it's meant to be easy, and it's meant to be something that PC can quickly iterate and put into practice right away.
Thank you. Are there any other clarifying questions? Yes, Commissioner London.
So I was just curious about the metrics. So obviously the whole point of doing this is to displace gasoline. And so will there be any effort through surveys or, measuring the amount of electricity served through these new ports? Questionnaires, surveys, focus groups to really understand how much gasoline is being displaced and actually calculate kind of the efficiency of this project. So how many gallons were displaced per dollar spent?
Rebecca, do you want me to take a stab at that first?
Yeah, and I can fill in. Yes, guys, we did talk about this to some degree. So
first, PCE would collect all the charging data from these stations. So we're setting ourselves up to do that. So we'll know how much electricity each station delivers. We are also planning to send trailing surveys to each of the sites after a given number of months to say, hey, how's it going, right? Is this solution working for you? Both for our own understanding to make sure that what we're recommending is actually working, right? And it's not just something we think is great, but doesn't actually practically work. And then we'll also ask some other demographic questions about, well, what about EV use, right? Is that going to be, has that picked up? So I think that's how we would tackle that piece of it. And then internally, PC has its own GHG methodology and how much each station, how much GHG each station reduces to. So which would be a functional equivalent to gasoline, right?
Is that based on assumptions like a fleet average or something like that?
I would have to get back to you on that. Those metrics are managed by someone else on our team, and I don't want to misspeak.
Okay. I would just propose that normally, like the state assumes that every EV displaces the same amount of gasoline and bases it on fleet averages. And of course, that's not accurate at all. So I would just strongly urge you to ask the survey questions about what car the drive, you've got this captive audience, where they live. So survey them and ask, what car were you driving before you, are you using this thing? What car were you driving before? About how many miles a year were you putting on it? Did you switch this out for that? That sort of thing to try to get at how much this is actually doing good.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. And I'm now realizing I didn't mention one other thing. The folks that we're working with are really the landlords of the property managers. We're not necessarily working through the residents. So we don't really have direct ties to each of the residents in the building such that we could send a survey in that way. We would love to, and I think that's something we'd aspire to do, but right now we're not set up to do that. But I think that's a really good point, and we should consider that. But getting the residents to fill that survey out, we've sent out a lot of surveys, and it is harder than we would like to get people to reply to it. But I think that's a very good point and something we'll take back under consideration.
Thanks. And one thing you could do is offer like a free charge if you fill out this survey.
Commissioner Gaylor.
Sorry, one more question, I promise. I'm getting the impression from the presentation that, at least in Menlo Park, that the owners of these multi-unit properties are not installing EV chargers using the PCE program. That's the impression I'm getting, like zero. Maybe that's not right. My question is, sorry, you can correct me, but my question is, are other cities, if we're not being whatever, our multi-unit property owners are not taking advantage of this? Like, are they doing that in any city in PCE territory, or and if it's an anomalous, like if it's different in Menlo Park, do you have any ideas about why that might be?
So I don't think we have enough data to date to make a conclusion that Menlo Park landlords are choosing not to install stations through our program. Now, I don't know what they're doing outside our program, nor do I know what they've done prior to our program, right? So, maybe there's been other success, prior to our program. I'm not sure how to address the Menlo Park specific element of your question. Now, outside of Menlo Park, in other cities, the sites who've been moving forward, and I'm doing a little indexing off the top of my head here, are some larger sites, so some larger affordable housing sites, and some larger market rate sites. That's not to say that smaller sites haven't moved forward, but I think the common thread across them are more of a engagement from the landlords or the boards who are driving the project, rather than maybe the location of the site per se. That said, smaller buildings are going to be managed by someone who's probably inherited the building, right? It's been in their family for X number of years, right? And they only have so much time. They have a day job, they have something else they're doing, so they don't have as much time to spend on a project. So whereas the larger sites, they have more structure around it, right? Now that's my guess. I don't really have data to back that up, but that would be my intuition as to why maybe Menlo Park is slower at the moment. But the folks who we've talked to thus far, everyone's really engaged. They want to do this, and they're excited. But there's unique barriers for each of their projects that have kind of blunted the progress.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Are there any other clarifying questions before we open the item to public comment? I don't see any. Ms. Almendrall, do we have any public comment on this item at this time?
Just as a reminder for members of the public who wish to give a comment on item D2, consider a recommendation to implement a rebate matching Peninsula Clean Energy's electric vehicle charging incentive for multi-unit properties in Menlo Park to support climate action plan strategy number 3, increase access to electric vehicle charging. Please engage the raised hand feature now. Last call for public comment on item D2. There are no public comments at this time. I return the meeting to you, Chair Price.
Thank you. So this item is now open for discussion. Obviously, we've asked a lot of questions. We've heard a lot of information. Does somebody have a place they would like to start? I guess here's where, go ahead, Commissioner Cabot.
Oh, I can wait if you're ready to speak.
I was just going to say, can we bring back up the recommendation? Because I think that would be helpful to ground ourselves in what the recommendation that we're considering is before we move the discussion forward. Is that possible?
Yes. Can you see it? I probably not the recommendation yet. Let me forward to see.
We can see the slides.
That's good. This one?
Yep.
All right.
So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it sounds like the staff recommendation is that the EQC make a recommendation to council to consider implementing a city-funded incentive program equal to the incentive program offered by PCE for multifamily buildings only for the EV charging. And so, I think I understand that. But looking at what's on slide 12, if we can go there, I'm just concerned that the projects look expensive per port installed. And when I divide the estimated cost by the number of ports in all 3 rows, it works out to over $9,000 per port. And some of the ports in there are just level 1, regular household outlets. And so it seems like a fairly high-priced adventure, although the top row one, from what I understood from talking to Peter yesterday about the project a little bit, the top row one had 50-year-old electric panels that that are of a type that is no longer marketed and doesn't have replaceable breakers. And so the owners of those 4 units, and I don't know if it's one owner or 4, were kind of kept in the dark a bit about the ownership models on these 4 rows. And so I don't understand it, to what extent they're condos or to what extent it's landlord owned. But anyway, there's a significant expense they're facing without electrification, that they have antiquated panels that maybe don't have replacement parts available on the market anyway. And as Peter mentioned, that may cost, say, $5,000 per panel to replace. Through this project, if the city were to match the funding, then they could get all that done at no expense, no net expense to them, with the incentives covering the full cost of the project, and end up with level 2 charging run through their own meters. So that would be a substantial value increase to whoever owns those 4 units, of taking care of a problem that they have, and then providing an amenity that we want. So we want the amenity, which is the ability for people to adopt EV driving by being able to find easy access EV charging. And we also want to be careful of the way programs have been administered in the past through lots of different things over the years that have a hard time really providing justice, because we end up offering incentives, and only folks with matching money are able to go along. So only the higher income properties are able to participate sometimes, and so some lower income properties get left behind. So we want to be careful of that. And we might want to look at matching some parts of PCE's program, but not necessarily matching all parts of it. And then PCE board has a policy to pay prevailing wage, but I think sounds like they're implementing it by using union shops, union contractors through that list of 13 that they have. And so that may result in a cost structure that maybe is hard on small projects. I have a hard time picturing somebody with 4 units going out and looking for a union shop on their own, but I don't know. So I'm just wondering if there are ways we could look at picking or advising council, making a recommendation that we match the affordable housing side of the EV charging incentive, which was, I believe, $2,500, up to $2,500 per level 1 port, and not matching the others, and then therefore not requiring too much budget. Just having noticed last time this type of thing went to the council, they felt like putting up on the order of $10,000 or $15,000 towards the project. So just thinking that if they're looking to try to spread the charging as far as they can, they may want to focus on the affordable housing project side of it and not pay for things that are just property upgrades that were needed anyway.
I just want to ask one question from what you just said, Commissioner Cabot. You said $2,500 per level 1 charger. Is there but you did not mention level 2 charging. Is there any rebate structure for a level 2 charger?
I believe what Peter mentioned was the level 2 rebate was the same for affordable housing as it was for market rate housing.
May I comment?
Yes.
Yeah, you are correct. It is $4,500 per port. The slight change is that for affordable housing, it is up to 100% of costs, up to $36,000 versus the market rate, which is up to 75% of costs or $36,000, whichever is less. So an affordable housing project would be, fully funded, and there's no 25%, reduction.
Peter, one other question on the panel upgrades. I see main panel upgrade is 4,000. In these situation where there's like 4 different panels, is there 4,000 for the whole build? So for all 4 or 4,000 for each?
4,000 for the main panel of the building. So there are instances where there are sub panels in the building, which we are not incentivizing. It is only the main panel. And this is really targeted at those smaller MUDs. And when I say smaller, and 10 to 30 units, right, that have one panel for the common area that needs to be upgraded versus, the really large sites that, they have a main panel, right, for the whole site, but then they have multiple sub panels because they have 10 different buildings that are spread out over, a couple acres. So it's only one incentive for the main panel, and sub panels are not included in that. Though you could, if you have a main panel cost and let's say it's $3,000 just the panel, but there's other work tied to it, right? You can get up to 4,000 for it, even if it's not directly the main panel, right? You have main panel plus some stuff within the panel that you're having to fix as well.
Commissioner Cabot, did you have something to add, or is your hand just up?
I can lower that.
That's okay. Commissioner Evans.
Thank you. I think what I'm struggling with is that in general, I am a big supporter of EV charging and we need it to get to our cap goals. And the costs are higher, I guess, than what council was originally envisioning it would be, which is nobody's fault. It is what it is. And I think maybe some of the political optics that are holding people back is what kind of precedent does this, if Menlo Park is having to pay this much money for chargers for multi-use or multi-unit building owners, what are other cities going to think about the viability of doing this going forward? We want to set a precedent that shows that this can be done perhaps at a cost that's not quite so high. And I guess I find myself wondering, what more could we as a city do to incentivize building owners to, until costs come down perhaps for level 2s, put in more level 1s in their shared spaces, assuming that we do the smart level 1s that allow them to bill so that the owners aren't absorbing all the costs of all the charging. But I mean, could we increase the incentive for level ones and decrease the incentives for for levels twos, even though that's
But
I wonder what that could do. I mean, I almost wonder if like if you increase the incentive for level one such that maybe the property owner is even getting more than it costs to install it, so that there's you know, even an incentive that goes beyond that to try to get to move people in that direction, at least for now, to keep costs down so that we can still get those chargers in for people who need them, who are parking in those units, but without it costing quite this much money.
And thank you, Commissioner Evans. This leads me to a question for Peter, because I had thought when Peter, when you were talking about it, that the proposals did that installing all level one chargers could be just as expensive. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I misheard you, but
so what I believe I said, or what I recall that I said, is that the example was you were installing level 2 stations in the shared parking. And those are higher powered stations to allow for throughput, right? Because you wouldn't, if it were a level 1 and a resident who has their deeded stall, right, they would park in that shared stall. And if it's level 1, they'd be there for maybe 10 hours, right? But that's not their stall, right? They have, so, you know, the property manager might say, look, you can only park here for 2 hours at a time, 3 hours at a time, because it's a shared, right? It's a shared spot and everyone should be able to use it. So if you have a level 1 in those stalls, it's not enough time to charge your vehicle adequately. Which is why we suggest the level 2s in the shared stall. So my example about, you know, the costliness of it, right? If you were to electrify a bunch of stalls, right? Let's say 30 stalls, and I don't have like a model in front of me to say if this is actually the break even.
That's okay.
If you electrify 30 stalls and, you know, versus install 10 shared level 2s, you could come to the same, you know, cost, right? Assuming that a level 2 station is $2,000 per, $20,000 just for the units plus maybe the install, you could easily get up to, you know, $80,000. Whereas level 1s, you know, the actual hardware for a level 1 is maybe $100, right? That you can get from Home Depot. So, but just the amount of wire and time it takes to wire each of those level 1s, you know, you could have different cost structures, but the cost could ultimately be, you know, be the same,
comparable.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm
Thank you.
making a very general statement about that.
Of course.
So I need to specific data though.
Thank you. And then I just have one other question. And then when and maybe Candace, I don't know if it's Candace or Miss Lucky, Miss Almondrell or Miss Lucky, but when we did any of the research out to the multifamily units, what would the use of the chargers change based on the information we have, or any information that we're looking at based on benchmarks, if it was level 1 charger or level 2 charger, right? Like our goal isn't just to install these. Our goal is actually to make sure that people are using EVs, they're charging their cars, right? This is what we want. If we want that, and we were to say people, you know, incentivize level 1 charging or whatever, do we see people use it less because it takes longer to charge, for example? I think you're muted.
I think there's a lot of, when somebody's going from a gas vehicle to an electric, there's also a learning curve too for them to understand. I mean, because right now what they see visually is the charging station. So they're sometimes making this assumption that's what I need at home too. I mean, a lot of people have done that already, just getting level 2 chargers in their home. But I think, you know, through it, like once you make that hop, and I think as more outreach is done, you start to realize that you only need the level 1. So I think they do get there. You could be like a lot of people who just try it and maybe try the public charging stations, and then you realize you could just plug it in. They tell you that at the dealership too, that you could use a household plug, and they have the converters that come with the vehicle as well to use the 120.
So we don't have any evidence to believe that the effectiveness of getting gasoline cars essentially off the Menlo Park streets it would be less effective if people had only access to level 1 charging as opposed to level 2.
Yeah, and PC can answer this. They've done quite a bit of research in
Okay,
this area.
yeah, go for it, Peter.
So what we understand is that today 50% of charging at home is done on level 1. And that's from California Air Resources Board surveys and studies that they've done. So folks today are using level 1 and those are at single family homes and they're doing just perfectly fine, right? The access to charging and a guaranteed dedicated access on a daily basis is the most important component to driving EV adoption. Not necessarily that it is a level 1 versus level 2, but that it is in your stall and it is available to you unimpeded. So having level 1 in your stall where you can pull up to your stall, park and plug in, it is a better option than showing up and having to wait for someone to get out of the level 2. So the having dedicated guaranteed access to charging on a daily basis is the most important piece before we consider whether it's a level 1 versus a level 2.
Okay, thank you. And then Commissioners Cabot and Gaillard, I know you both want to make a comment. I'm not sure who was first. I don't recall. So if you know, otherwise I'll just.
It's Josie.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to come out with an opinion here. I, have installed an EV charger. I've helped price EV chargers for dozens of homes and not multifamily, granted, and also been informed. Tom is working on helping a multifamily project install EV chargers. I'm also get lots of current information from all of the EV charger manufacturers about innovations. So there's a new product coming. Well, there's a bunch of a bunch of companies offering a somewhat new product, which would allow you to keep your panel and throttle back the EV charging if, the rest of your electric use in your home went up and you were at risk of flipping your breaker on your main panel. So this would be a way to avoid panel upgrades. For example, that's a $600 piece of equipment. And so knowing kind of what circuits cost and everything, I just think that this is a lot of money. And I understand the wanting to support unions with the prevailing wage, but my sense is there's something in here that right now it's like early days and the prices are, 5x really what they should be or what they will be eventually. So as someone who, wants to be, of course, I want to advance electrification. And of course, I want to make sure that multifamily homeowners or residents have access to EV charging. This feels like a very, it doesn't feel like a wise use of city dollars to me. So for example, if we gave another way to help support folks living in multifamily would be to provide charging cards, right? That would enable them to go to a public charger. It's not as convenient, but let's say the city were to subsidize that. Just to give you an equivalent, for $9,000 per household, that works out to 120,000 miles of charging at 30 cents a kilowatt hour, that's like twice what you would pay at residential, right? So that's like with a big markup in a public space, 120,000 miles of charging. So I feel like it's not a wise use of dollars today. And maybe as the market kind of works itself out, like people are gonna, and there's new technology available that makes this, you know, half the cost or a quarter of the cost of these prices that are, I'm interested to look at the quotes and understand, what's going on, but that's my take on it.
Thank you. Commissioner Cabot?
Thank you. I had another question that popped into my head. Are condo and townhouse owners eligible for PCE's normal homeowner EV charger incentive?
So, so we don't have a single family home incentive for EV charging. So that's not something that we support in our program.
Okay.
Our requirements for multi-unit dwellings is 4 or more units. And you can't have a private garage, which is attached, because typically in that situation, you have access to a level 1 port. You may have a washer and dryer, so it's already wired for power. So those are the 2 instances in which someone would be ineligible. It's under 4, or they have a private garage.
All right, thank you. Yeah, what was occurring to me was the population segment that has the toughest time finding at-home dedicated charging or making it is the renter population and multifamily rentals. Whereas the condo owner or townhouse owner has a better chance since they own their things and they can work with their HOAs to install stuff. They can solve their problems, but the renters are the ones who need some help. And so that is where I can really picture the need for PCE's incentives to help get the project over the hurdles with the landlord, especially using higher cost labor than the landlord may be accustomed to using. And so one idea that leads to is maybe the city should look at, say, a $1,000 per port incentive for rental properties. And, maybe that's not, it could be separate from what PCE is doing, because there are all those duplexes and triplexes that PCE's program doesn't extend down to. And so then Menlo Park's program of offering 1,000 a port would be available there. But just looking at where are the gaps in the market, and I agree with Commissioner Gaylord that these costs look high. I think things will get easier to install. Technology is coming along, but I don't know whether that works through, whether that it becomes available, those savings in installation costs through prevailing wage labor shops.
Thank you. Commissioner Elkins and then Commissioner London.
Okay. Since we're going ahead to express some opinions here, it's my opinion that this money would be well spent. We are in preliminary stages. The costs might be high, but we need to get this going. I think it's worth I don't think it's a good idea to make it so complex. I think it's a good idea to just piggyback on PC's plan to give them the $250,000 that they require to implement the plan for us and to jumpstart this. But bogging it down with these details and specifications for things that are different than what the way PCE has organized it is just going to slow it down more. The fact is that I think as people have said, it will get cheaper and easier in the future, but we're not going to sit around and wait for the future. We need to get it going now. And I'm at this point anyway in this discussion, in favor of throwing the money at it. So that's what I have to say for now.
Thank you, Commissioner London.
Thank you. I'm pretty torn here. We're in a race against time. Scientists say we have to cut total emissions from every sector in half by 2030. And the light duty vehicle sector is our biggest source of carbon emissions. And in spending money, I think we should be looking to make our dollars go as far as possible in terms of gallons of gasoline avoided. So what is the best option to do that? On the one hand, as Commissioner Elkins points out, we already have a program that PCE has thought through. It's up and running, and we can, add our money and have it have extra appeal. On the other hand, I don't know if that program is truly structured to maximize gasoline reduction. And that's really what we have to keep our eye on. Like, if we spend this money and people go and get these, move in, and even if they don't get an EV, which is terrible, or they get an EV and they don't drive very much, so they weren't burning very much gas, they weren't somebody who was burning very much gasoline, we have not maximized that very expensive appliance. And so I guess to that end, if we go forward with this, I'd say at least let's put the level 2 chargers. I understand that 50% of people may use level 1 chargers, but they're not the ones who are burning all the gasoline. We need to try to attract the biggest gasoline users to feel like they can make the switch. And so anyway, I guess, and then I balance that against, like, okay, would this money be better spent on some public level 3 chargers that maybe would be at a discounted rate, or like Commissioner Gaylord says, giving people a voucher that covers the cost of their electricity wherever they can go get it. So I'm just expressing the thoughts, but very torn on what to do here. Thank you.
Thank you. I think what I recall is that we started down this path, or the reason we're having this conversation is because the hardest nut to crack in Menlo Park that hasn't been addressed is this multifamily unit. And we know that the most important thing for multifamily unit homes is access to at-home charging, right? We heard it from Peter, we've heard it from Ms. Lucky and Ms. Almendraw. And so I think, and we also all agree and are very familiar with the race against time. So my concern is that we may not have a perfect solution in front of us, but it is a solution that can start tomorrow. And perhaps that has greater option value to us because of the speed we can act on, knowing that it may not be the solution for forever, but in the near term, it may be the best way for us to try to address and crack the nut of how do we address charging at multifamily unit properties. And the other thing, just to what Janelle said, is that I do think multifamily unit charging is an opportunity to take more cars and more gas off of the road, because you do have, I think, a situation if you have level 2 charging where people can quickly charge and go rather than sit, plug in the car, and then get frustrated, as we've heard stories about, where they're like, I can't wait 10 hours till I can drive my car. I got to go somewhere now, and therefore I need to do this. But I understand the other concerns. I think I might be biased towards speed to act, similar to Commissioner Elkins. Commissioner Gaylord.
So here's an idea. We heard that the small property, we have a lot of these small properties. When I say small properties, I mean the 19 units. And those seem to have a very particular set of needs. Of the projects that were proposed to us, I think one, correct me if I'm wrong, one was that type. So what if we funded that one? Because we also heard that the larger property owners are more likely to take advantage of the funds because they have professional staff who can handle this. So if we have all these small properties in Menlo Park where they don't have professional staff, maybe we focus our dollars in this pilot project on that type so that we can help move those forward and leave the larger properties, since they're more likely to take advantage of the rebates on their own at some point, maybe not fund those at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Gaylord. So that brings me to a question that I would have for Peter, because it comes back to the question I had asked earlier, which is, this is a solution that PCE is putting forward. It is not necessarily a solution that is custom tailored to the Menlo Park housing stock. And so what Commissioner Gaylord is suggesting is essentially catering a program like this to the Menlo Park housing stock. And my question to you is, what amount of time, what is the cost in time to us and would that even be something PCE would be open to? So it's a two-part question.
It's a very good question. In terms of creating a custom incentive, that could require some significant amount of time for the building stock, because we would go through a building characterization study, understanding the ages of buildings. We'd understand specific unit sizes, building sizes, rental structures. So that would need to happen. Now, while the incentives may change, the approach would probably fundamentally stay the same, where level 1 and all the dedicated stalls, and level 2 and the shared parking stalls. And I say that because we have spent a lot of time thinking about that with our technical assistance consultant. And we have a whole page that outlines our installation strategy and why we were doing what we're doing. So I don't think the approach would necessarily change, where the incentives could change. Now, that's not something that I think PCE would be prepared to do right now. And if that's something that is requested, I would need to take that back to my management and ask about that. So that would be, that's my answer to that piece of it.
Sure.
I think you also asked a question about time. And, I don't know how quickly that could be turned around, to be frank. So, there's also a, where PC is trying to make this easy to make it an easy program to implement. So we can do this again and again and again, right? Because our worry is the county, and try to make, how do we address the county as a whole, right? And so it is possible, right? Another city could say, hey, we want our own custom thing, and we want our own custom thing, and 10, 15 cities down the line, okay, that's a lot. That's a lot of administrative time. That could be 10 different, 15 different programs, right? And thereby you lose some efficiencies as well. So I would need to spend some more time thinking about exactly what that would mean, and then having conversations internally. If I could offer another comment as well, related to the speed at which things need to happen. The CEC, the California Energy Commission, estimates that we need 1.2 or almost 1.2 million stations by 2030 to meet the demands of new EV drivers. So we have 8 years left. So roughly we need to do 1.5 million a year. Or sorry, 150,000 a year for the next 8 years to meet it, right? Now, that is the whole state, right? But if you take, a microcosm of Menlo Park, right, that could be a couple hundred per year to meet, a pretty modest 2035 goal or 2030 goal. So there is a, when I think about the large infrastructure projects, I think about it as what do you need to do per year to hit this gigantic goal, right? And which generally means, if you don't start early, it means the years in the later in the cycle means you need to do an order of magnitude more, which becomes an order of magnitude harder. And so I just offer that comment, as consideration for how to think about the longer term planning for big infrastructure change, and the fundamental infrastructure turnover that we're going to experience in order to meet decarbonization goals.
Thank you. It reminds me, and I don't know if everybody was here, but it reminds me a little bit of the reach codes, right? Like when we were working on the reach codes, we had a lot of questions about how, and Tom knows this better than anybody, but it does, I do appreciate the comment that a structure that applies beyond the boundaries of Menlo Park has great benefits for the scalability of the solution. I'm not sure. There's 3 hands raised. I don't know who. Does anyone know?
I was last, so Nell and Tom come before me. I know that part.
I was after
Okay.
Vice Chair.
Commissioner London, it is then.
That puts Janelle at the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hear this thing about the CEC saying we need 1.2 million charging stations by 2030, but I just looked it up and we have 8,300 gas stations. And so, it just makes me wonder, like, as technology improves and these charges are faster and faster, if we adopted a gas station model, supposedly we only need 8,300 to match what we have today. And so that's a lot fewer. So I just wanted to point out that possibility. I may not be fully informed on this, what the 1.2 million is based on.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Cabot. I'm sorry, I forgot the order. My bad.
All right, thank you. I was just thinking of ways to make it simple. 100% matching of PCE's incentives is one way to make it simple. Another is a constant incentive, say $1,000 per port for any of the ports that PCE is incenting to be delivered along with their incentive. And that might help stretch Menlo Park's money further. And Menlo Park also might want to advertise it as a jumpstart incentive that is for a limited volume only, until it's subscribed and then it's over. Similar to the way the state ran its solar incentives, which were on a known declining set of stair steps by volume sold, which helped discipline the solar market into lower prices. I'm just looking at the costs here, and it looks like, oh, this might be undisciplined cost of systems. And so having a declining incentive can help do that.
Sorry, Commissioner Evans.
Thank you. I like Commissioner Cabot's idea of a declining incentive that has a timeline on it. I think that anything that this is a recommendation to council. We're ultimately not making a decision, but I think that I could get behind us recommending to council that we fund this, especially if most of the money is coming from the climate action plan part of the budget. And then it's up to them to figure out, politically, optically, does that make sense for Menlo Park to be spending the money that way? And then I think an important part of the recommendation would have to be then, because I would never want to see the city abandon its ability to get to its CAP 3 goal, since that's so crucial to getting to 0 by 2030. And I like what Commissioner Gaylord said about the backup could be providing these charge cards and perhaps putting some of the money that we were otherwise going to spend to installing some new public chargers, especially in areas that are near this multifamily housing and where there is less charging accessible, and having that be the backup solution. So it could be a 2-pronged recommendation.
Thank you. Commissioner Elkins.
I just wanted to go back to Commissioner Cabot's proposal about $1,000 across the board, and I wanted to make the point that it doesn't look to me like we're barely getting any action out of the money that is being proposed in the staff report. If we're matching it at 2,000 and at 4,500, we're still not getting to that sweet spot of 15% cost to the owner, I don't think reducing the incentive is going to help us at all to get more people on board.
Thank you. Commissioner Gaylord and Commissioner Evans, are you? Oh, okay.
This is sort of a little bit of a side note, but 2 years ago, the EQC approved a pricing strategy for the public charger, the city-owned public chargers, which right now people charge for free. And I hear that they just leave their cars parked there all the time. There's no penalty. And so in fact, my understanding is that maybe people aren't able to use those chargers. So if someone was just mentioning the public, investing some money in city-owned chargers, I would like to see what the pricing plan that the EQC approved, 2 years ago. I would like to see that implemented so that we can get higher throughput on the city chargers.
Okay, and then I do have one other question, which is like, because where are we in the fiscal year? Isn't the fiscal year ends June for the city, right? Like the end of May is the end. Is that right? Miss
Yes.
Lucky or Miss Bonjo? Okay. And so and the money that we're talking about, would that be spent out of this fiscal year's budget?
Yes.
And if we didn't spend the money on this, what other opportunities do we have to deploy capital against the goals? And does the money go away in the next fiscal year?
The money doesn't go away. It does get rolled over since it's in the capital improvement program. And typically every year council does award another 100,000. So we've got a couple of years of rolled over funds on this. And that's a good question too, because I've been getting quite a few questions about the budget itself. And we do have funds to support, most, if it was the 250,000, a lot of that, there would probably be a very small ask from another fund, and we're looking into those other ones. But we've been able to really minimize a lot of our cost in the CIP by kind of bringing on people that are really efficient at doing the work. And so there is extra money. We don't necessarily always use the entire budget of our contracts either. So there's always the kind of savings from there as well.
So, okay, so there would most likely, it sounds like, not be an added ask for budget. We would be utilizing budget that some of it might be able to roll over, or all of it might roll over. But we are not asking for additional funds for this recommendation.
Additional funds from
any other part of the city, most likely. I know it's not 100%. But you said for the $250,000, that would most likely be covered.
There might be, yeah, there's a good portion of that would be. I'm working with the finance team, and we just got it upscaled, but it's between 140 and 180. And then there'd be that other coverage amount. But again, there are other potential existing, so we're not trying to create more parts of that. And then to Commissioner Gellard's point, we are anticipating putting the pricing back into the charging stations too, because they are heavily used. But we do have a parking limit. We do enforce it because of the pandemic. It may not be as enforced, but there is one there because we were also getting complaints and responding to them as well about people being placed in there too long.
So there's a plan to alleviate the tension around the overutilization by certain community members of the public charging stations.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, the fee structure that the EQC looked at and also was presented to City Council even has like a financial penalty if you're there too long.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
to kind of really get them moving out of the spaces.
Okay.
But right now we do, have some level of enforcement, but it is difficult. I think the financial penalty is a big motivator for people to get out of the space once they're done.
Yeah, it's like a parking ticket.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I hear from the group is that there are several different kind of tensions we're addressing. One is that there's a concern that the cost and the projects proposed, like are these projects the best projects that Menlo Park could be taking on at multifamily units, right? Like Tom had raised some concerns around the one particular project where he's like, they're just doing this because they got to upgrade those panels. I'm not saying you said it that way. I'm saying it that way. And this way, you know, it gets done for free. Great for them, great for the city. I don't know. Right. And then Josie has raised some questions around the overall cost, right? And is the market efficient? And Tom echoed those concerns around the union labor. And we've also talked about considerations around how much of a customized solution is there an appetite for from PCE to, you know, customized solution for Menlo Park, and or, you know, what trade-off with speed and an ability to kind of put something into action would we be trading off by trying to create something that's custom? So I think we have a lot of dimensions to this suggestion. We're currently at 8, just after 8:10. We've spent a long time on this item, and that's okay because it's important. But I think we might need to start putting some stakes in the ground to bring ourselves back to a place to move the conversation forward. It sounds like there's essentially a trade-off between the expedited implementation of this incentive program and the cost to the city per charge port installed. And it seems like that's the fundamental tension in this discussion from my standpoint. We have different options. One is we could create a custom, can you go back one slide, Miss Lucky? Okay. One of the things that, you know, obviously we have, these are some of the considerations. And we can approach this in a lot of different ways. Does somebody want to put a stake in the ground? I'm willing to do it, but if somebody else feels strongly about putting a stake in the ground about given these considerations, given the tension or trade-off between speed to implementation and cost per port, how we want to shake out on this. It's a fun one. Go ahead, Commissioner Gaylord.
Actually, I'm not going to put a stake in the ground. I'm just
That's
gonna,
okay.
One other thing that's been bugging me that I haven't articulated, haven't even kind of recognized, is that in seeing how the rebates have affected pricing for the other electrification in the area, it's clear that the subsidies have actually increased prices quite a bit. So I know it's counterintuitive, but they have had what I would call kind of a negative impact on the market. And so I think I'm concerned that by throwing money at this problem, we're actually going to have an adverse effect if others, you know, like we're actually going to increase the prices overall, and then contractors will come to sort of expect those exorbitant prices, and other cities will have to end up doing the same thing, and overall we'll just have less charging. So I hadn't articulated that. So.
And how, so knowing that thank you for that maybe in something that is happening, right? It's kind of a supply and demand situation. If there's more demand, maybe the price goes up because you're not necessarily, at least for the Bay Run solutions, you're not necessarily increasing the number of contractors that can qualify you for any of those incentives. How might this situation be different? Is there a third party, for example, involved in the estimates to validate what the cost of the project actually is?
I think that would be valuable. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know the answer, but I know that new solutions, new entrants, more variety of participants and solutions is going to help bring the cost down. And so anyway, this is another reason why I'm reluctant to, as someone described, it's kind of throw money at this. I think it might have the opposite effect of what we want.
Thank you. Ms. Lucky, did you want to address something?
I just want to add, so for this program, they do use that third-party clear result to provide those cost estimates. So with other incentive programs, even the ones that I've been involved in the past, we never really had that kind of goalpost or checkpoint to kind of understand like what the real cost is versus what you're maybe getting bids for. And even if they're getting higher bids, I mean, there's at some point, like the property owners are not going to do it because it just doesn't make it, you know, cost effective for their returns on investment that they see. And I know
So
Mr. Amble, I know he has got to go soon, so I'll let him please take it away if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, one comment I'll add is we've taken a look at all of the bids that we've received, and this is not necessarily Menlo Park, this is the whole county, and compared them against what our cost estimates were. And we have only seen a 4% variance in cost. So 4% increase in cost compared to what union electricians were bidding against our project costs. So 4%, of a $100,000 project, not a huge amount, and that's relatively in line with what we've seen in neighboring programs in Santa Clara County that are participating in Cali VIP and have been tracking data similarly. So I haven't seen an upward pressure in cost incentives.
Is it possible, because I mean, you can't turn on the news these days without seeing the effect of inflation across the economy. Is it possible that some of the increased cost, perhaps this 4%, perhaps part of the increase, the greater increased cost for some of the other incentives are driving, it may be possible that some of those have to do with factors relating to broader economic trends and may not be specific to the incentive? Is that possible?
I think that's generally correct.
Okay.
The cost increases that we have seen, and that clear result has also seen in comparison to previous programs they've run are mainly due to all supply chain issues, right? Which covers a lot of different things. So
everyone says that. Yeah.
I don't have the data off the top of my head right now, but there's been significant increases in copper prices, significant increases in semiconductor chip prices that go into these stations. And then on top of that all, the contractor market is very tight right now because construction's rebounded. So there's an opportunity cost, right? That contractors, look, I can go do this project that's a 9 months and it's going to pay me $200,000. Well, that's easy, right? It only takes me a couple hours to bid versus to get that same volume, right, of projects and EV charging, right? They have to do more, right? So maybe they're pricing it higher because it's like it's got to be worth my time. So I just want to leave that one comment there that the cost variance that we're seeing based on what our estimates versus what we're receiving in the real world is very, very small. But the supply chain costs are certainly a thing. And I apologize. I do have something else I'm supposed to do tonight. So
that's okay.
I apologize if there's other questions that any of you have right now. I could probably answer them, but I will need to drop off shortly.
Commissioner Cabot, do you have a question for?
Thank you very much, Mr. Amble.
Yes, thank you. And obviously we spend a lot of time discussing these items as we deeply care about this issue. And we appreciate all of the time that you spend discussing them with us and answering all of our questions. So if we don't get a chance, if you need to drop off and we don't get a chance, I'm sure we're all deeply grateful for the time that you spent with us this evening. And so thank you for that. And we all learn, so it's exciting. So thank you. I'll move on to Commissioner Cabot's comment.
All right, thank you. So I wanted to work towards a recommendation. And the way I see the situation is that staff has an opinion and is able to make a recommendation to council. And then also this item came to the EQC to also find out our recommendation to council, and those two don't have to agree. And then staff can take both of those to council, and council can look that over and make their own decisions about what to do. With that in mind, and recognizing that it makes sense if staff believes that matching with 100% of PCE's rebate level is the right thing to do, they ought to make that recommendation. For me, it's just not feeling quite right there. And I'm also concerned that we're not offering any assistance down at the duplex and triplex level of properties. And so my thought about what looks simple is to recommend that the council adopt a program that adds $1,000 per port to EV incentives offered by PCE, administered through them, and also offer $1,000 per port for duplexes and triplexes that pursue EV charging. Oh, and one third thing, I think it's the city has other levers, and they ought to explore what other levers they might be able to pull and push that can assist the attractiveness of EV charging in multifamily properties. And so I saw a blog that I forwarded just minutes before the meeting to Sustainability Manager Lucky that talks about the basic problem we're grappling with, and are there other incentives? And one of the ideas was to make sure that landlords knew there was general amnesty on other issues on their property, that the city's coming in to look at things or do this building inspection for the EV chargers. It's just part of the EV project. And so the EV project is not going to trigger the city requirements for other upgrades to properties. And then, maybe there's other expedited services that the city might be able to offer. So different ways that the city can do things other than pouring money onto prices.
Thank you. Commissioner Elkins?
I love that last point that you made, Commissioner Cabot, regarding the general amnesty. That's an excellent point. Should be brought to the attention of council, I think. But back to your original proposal of $1,000 per port. What about my counter proposal is $2,000 per port, and then that would apply to level 2 ports as well. So that would be a savings of $2,500 over what staff has recommended here, but would still get us closer towards the covering the costs for those the smaller buildings. Yeah,
I think, and I may be an outlier, and just like Tom said, not only do we not have to agree as a commission with staff's recommendation, but we don't have to agree with each other, right? That is okay. It's not common in this group, but it is totally okay. So we don't have, we may not have a lot of norms for how to handle it if we don't agree, and that's okay. So I think where I stand, and again, I may be in a different spot, but I would rather see us take this opportunity and move it forward, knowing that this tension exists, because I think that we will learn through the process of doing this. And I know that we have been trying different ways to get multifamily units to install charging, and we have not been successful in that. And I think while this is while we may feel uncomfortable, and I do, with the cost per port, I think that it is the best approach I have seen to close that gap and to learn how to close that gap potentially at scale, because it allows us to complete projects, which otherwise I'm not convinced we would be able to complete at all. So I'm in favor of moving forward with this pilot, because I do think we need to complete projects to learn and take the next step. Not because I'm thinking forever the city needs to commit these resources, and not because I think these are the perfect projects, but because I think we need to make progress. And this appears to me to be the fastest way to make that progress. And I think speed is the thing I care the most about right now, given the climate crisis. So that's where I stand, is I think we move forward. I would like to see us move forward with a pilot, given all of the concerns. And I think that allows us the number one option on the slide.
So it sounds like my motion did not get a second. So then that, I believe, is leaving Chair Price's suggestion as the motion.
Well, and I think that whatever we put forward, I think we ought to say that if they don't move forward with that, that there is another solution in place so that we can still meet the cap goals. So the charge cards and taking some of those funds and creating new public chargers near key multifamily properties.
But
So
we
they
don't
really say, like,
actually
this is-
have data to back up that would work. Just to be clear to everybody, the data we have is that people need to be able to charge at home. By far and away, that is the number one most important thing. And that if people cannot charge at home, they do not buy an EV. So I just want to be super clear that I understand that might be more cost effective, but we actually have zero data to back up that would actually address the problem.
True, we don't have data. I guess I'm just thinking, though, that if the costs were covered in full to those drivers, suddenly they'd be getting, free fuel, so to speak.
But they'd be losing time. Like, I think the trade-off has never been about money. It's been about time. It's time and control. If the renters, like Tom said, they don't have the ability to install the ports at their place of residence. They need their landlord to do it. They've not been effective at advocating for it individually. The landlords don't care. The landlord doesn't want to spend a dime on it, is what we've heard. And the person won't get an EV unless they can charge at their house because they don't have time to be going. They don't have time to add another thing. They might be working 2-3 jobs. Like, we don't know. And so the issue is time and control. And this is the only solution on the table that addresses time and control from my point of view. Yes, Commissioner Elkins.
Yeah, if you have made a motion that basically parallels consideration number 1 here on the screen, then I would second that motion.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Again, it's okay to disagree. That's not a problem. But it sounds like we're ready for a vote.
Fantastic. So just so I understand, and I've captured the motion from Chair Price, the motion is to support option 1 and pilot a $250,000 allocation to support several multi-unit properties in Menlo Park with marketing and outreach efforts to to match PCE's existing incentive program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Fantastic. So the roll call vote as follows. Commissioner Elkins?
Aye.
Vice Chair Evans?
I'm still undecided. Isn't that a terrible thing to say at this point? But I am. Can you skip me for a moment so I can process this a little bit for a few more minutes?
Commissioner Gellert?
No.
Commissioner Cabot?
No.
Commissioner London?
No.
Chair Price?
Yes.
Vice Chair Evans?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
3-3.
Yeah, it's 3-3. Thank you. The
There you
motion
go.
is tied. It fails to pass, I believe.
Yeah. So we didn't pass that motion, but we came to a conclusion. We don't have a recommendation at this time. But at the same time, we recognize that staff can move their own motion forward. It just does not have support from the EQC. And for an update from the EQC chair, we have the kind of points of discussion that we've covered as to why we landed where we landed in the discussion.
I just want to say, frankly, I think the fact that we tied, as frustrating as that may feel to folks, I mean, I think that in and of itself sends an interesting and perhaps important message to council, which is that there truly is this conflict, and that all of us want to move meaningful EV charging forward, and this is a big struggle. And I think that it shows that we're not frivolously just wanting to spend money, that we're giving serious consideration to this and any other proposal that may come our way. And so I think that that's a valuable thing for them to understand about our commission as we move forward.
I 100% agree. And I think I think there's some expression, I'm totally not going to get it right, but it's something like, if you don't disagree, then you don't know that you're having really challenging conversations, right? So I think that that's also really important. Okay. Sorry, I'm going back to my little script here. Okay, so now we're on the reports and announcements. So this is section E of the agenda. Do we have any reports or announcements from staff or commissioners?
Oh,
Commissioner Evans.
Okay, did Tom?
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner
no,
Cabot, you go ahead.
I am after you.
Mine's a tiny bit longer, so you go first, if you're willing.
Commissioner Cabot.
Sure. I just thought I'd bring an item up for discussion that I noticed on Nextdoor today. One of our residents raised an issue that Menlo Park used to have essentially what's called a daylight plane ordinance in some places, but it's an ordinance that limits how much shade a new building can throw onto the other buildings to its north or wherever, downstream of it, that might end up blocking their solar panels. And so I thought, perhaps we ought to look at agendizing the issue of discussing a recommendation to council for a daylight plane to limit new construction from shading substantial portions of neighbors' roofs.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, and then one other little announcement. The news that yesterday in Half Moon Bay, their city council voted 4-1 to approve their REACH code. It's late in the cycle, but they've had a really progressive REACH code that is all electric for new construction, and it also sets an end of gas flow delivery in the city of Half Moon Bay in the year 2045, which helps then all of their citizens and businesses understand their planning needs for doing their transitioning and not necessarily investing in stranded asset equipment that's going to no longer get fuel after 2045. And so they'll hasten their replacement as they do their planning and replacement of equipment to be all electric. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Commissioner Evans.
I just wanted to give a report out because I promised in the January meeting that I would continue to give brief report outs on the pilot programs that we are working to pursue with Block Power. Things continue to go well, in my view. And I wanted to just give a brief snippet of some comments that I provided at a recent council meeting. The one pilot that's moving perhaps the fastest is Haven House, which is in District 2. And I'm trying to recall the extent to which I went into detail, but it's at the last EQC meeting, but it's part of the larger Life Moves nonprofit, and it provides shelter and services to families who are homeless and or in transition. And Haven House in particular has a focus on military veterans and includes families with children. And so the senior management at Life Moves is very motivated to do this, and a large piece of what's driving this is health and safety of the occupants, not just greenhouse gas emissions. And they are very interested in getting cooling for the individual units, which is a big deal. And that's inherent in the heat. When you install the heat pump, you get that automatic cooling. And I used every opportunity that I can to educate people about that. And battery backup too. They're very interested in the resiliency component that comes along with this, and the ability for occupants to be able to charge their phone and access the refrigerator in an outage. And then what's even more exciting perhaps is that Life Moves is so excited about this potential idea that they, after completing Haven House, they would like to explore the idea of doing the very same thing to all 26 of their homeless shelter properties up and down the peninsula from San Jose to Daly City. So that's exciting. And there's also a different nonprofit, and until things are a little bit more formalized, I won't mention the name here, but they have 2 properties in our District 1, our Bellhaven neighborhood, and they also are extremely motivated to work forward in this pilot, and that is exciting. And so we're digging into more of those details, but even just had a call today with the program manager of these 2 properties at this nonprofit organization, who is actively working through all of the details to try to make it work. So that's exciting. And then Mayor Nash, at that same council meeting back in January, also just gave a brief snippet about the fact that we are, as a city, we are exploring the possibility of a larger scale project with Block Power, which again is the clean tech company that hires workers generally from low income and marginalized communities, and that is working on these pilots with us. And we're in the exploratory phase of doing this. Staff has met with the CEO and co-founder of Block Power, Danelle Baird, and has another meeting scheduled, or in the process of being scheduled, that's coming up. And the idea is that this could be designed in a way that's similar in nature to the program that Ithaca, New York is doing with Block Power that was announced in the Washington Post back in November. And so after staff has another meeting and asks some more burning questions, the hope, or at least I suppose my hope and the tentative plan, is to have Danelle Baird then present to City Council at some point in the near future so that Council can ask their questions as well. And I'll just continue to keep you guys apprised of all of this.
Thank you. We have Commissioner Gaylord, and I think we have Miss Lucky, but we can start with Commissioner Gaylord.
Yeah, a few things. One is I was looking at some data on the CEC's website, and then had a conversation with someone at the CEC. And last year, 32% of new cars newly registered in Menlo Park were an EV of some, or zero emission vehicle of some kind. So either a plug-in hybrid or a battery, full battery EV, or there are a few hydrogen fuel cell cars, but 32% is pretty good. The goal was to get to 100% non-fossil vehicles newly registered by 2023, since most people own cars for about 7 years, and that would enable us to theoretically fully electrify the whole fleet by 2030. So we're not there, but hopefully the city can get there. Generally, natural gas prices are way up, so that is going to help tilt the scales toward electrification from a pricing perspective. Who knows what they will do, but with all the things happening in Europe and Asia, Russia, natural gas prices staying high for the foreseeable future is like not a crazy thought. Rewiring America is an organization started by Saul Griffith, which is all about electrifying everything. And they created an organization well, they created a pledge and they've asked mayors across America to sign the pledge, and Mayor Nash signed a pledge to commit to electrifying the city on the city's behalf. And she joined, I think, 43 other mayors, including Mayor of Pittsburgh and Albuquerque and a whole bunch of other big cities all across the US. So that was exciting that she did that. And then my last update is this will be my last meeting. And it's been such a pleasure to serve on the EQC. I'm sorry that my last vote wasn't more, wasn't one of our unanimous ones. We had so many of those. Anyway, it's just been such a pleasure, and I've just learned so much and been so grateful for the time that I've had to spend with you all. And I'm gonna miss you.
We will miss you very much. We're, yeah, I like Janelle's heart. I can't do it as well as she did. But yeah, we will miss you very much. We're very grateful for all of the time that you've spent on the EQC, on the CAP, working on behalf of the city in so many different capacities. And I think we will forever be in your debt on that. And many citizens are, but they may or may not know it. So thank you. And I think we did have Miss Lucky, who had an announcement or report, and then we also have Commissioner London.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Gillard, for all of your service too. You've been a major driver and so knowledgeable and appreciated all the time. We spent, I think, the pandemic summer almost together virtually or over the phone. So I really appreciate your dedication to this commission, and you will be missed for like the value that you put in and just the good conversations you help create. So again, I appreciate getting to know you, and I'm sure we'll still see you around. And I'll certainly be calling you electrification questions when I get stumped.
Absolutely.
So my update is pretty brief. I just wanted to circle back. Toward the end of January, I want to say everything seems to be melting together, but January 25th, the City Council did approve of the contract with Optimi to help project manage the MPCC microgrid that's related to CAP number 5, but it also is going to help just look at city operations overall and look at how we can decarbonize our operations and what that timeline looks like if we're trying to lead the community to achieving carbon neutrality by 2030. And also helping with the Tesla Patrol pilot as well, and monitoring and understanding like what all of the successes are, as well as the issues with that going forward. So that's a really exciting aspect too. And we are in the final stages of our recruitment process as well for a management analyst for sustainability. So hopefully by next EQC meeting, I'll have an update on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner London, and then Commissioner Cabot.
Yeah, I just had a quick update of some stuff that my nonprofit is working on. So you may have noticed that I'm pretty hyper-focused on displacing gasoline and trying to maximize the efficiency of any sort of dollars spent that they maximally displace gasoline. And I'll just say that we got some amazing data from the DMV, like millions of records of odometer readings kind of at the beginning and end of a driver's period of ownership, along with the make, year, and model of the vehicle and the zip code. And from that, we were able to literally map for the first time where the people are who are burning the most gasoline. And we're also able to figure out like what are the most popular vehicles per zip code among the people using the most gasoline. And so it's just fascinating. Like, you know, you would kind of think California, like if it were a business and it were tasked with maximizing the effectiveness of its taxpayer dollars to cut gasoline consumption, it would be all over this. And yet it kind of doesn't really track any of this stuff. So we're finally developing the school heat map. We're learning a lot. Not a huge shock that people in very rural areas who are burning massive amounts of gasoline are driving pickup trucks, and people who live within maybe like 50 to 100 miles of a big city or a big urban area tend to drive more like Altimas and more like commuter cars because they're probably commuting. So we're just starting to learn that story. We're starting to do surveys and focus groups to truly understand, like, if you convert this particular user or if you advertise and market in this area, you get a much bigger bang for your buck if you get one of these, what we're calling gasoline super users, to switch to an EV than you do, say, somebody who was in a Prius, not driving to the Trader Joe's or riding a bike or a train. So anyway, we're super excited.
Thank you. That's really awesome. Commissioner Cabot, I think you were next.
Thank you. Yeah, I just had a quick question for staff. In our December meeting, we made a recommendation that the city join ICLEI and that request that ICLEI create a subgroup, that council asked ICLEI to create a subgroup of folks with a 2030 carbon neutral goal. Is there any update on council's action or ICLEI's actions?
Yeah, so 2 parts to that. So for the race to zero, actually Ms. Almendra looked into this some more, and she we talked to ICLEI, and it looks like we already have I think Commissioner Gillard, you might have mentioned this, we already have a lot of the resolutions in place to join the race to zero. So what we're strategizing to basically do is bring it forward for the mayor to sign or to consider signing with the rest of the council. So that'll be upcoming towards April, but ICLEI is working on the science-based targets, since we already do meet a lot of the criteria they need for us to join the race to zero. So that will be collected over the next couple of months, and could share that with the EQC once I receive the results of that. And then the other part for kind of an ICLEI cohort of folks who have similar climate action plan goals, I am joining a meeting, I think not next week, but the week after, where they have kind of sharing ideas with folks who are in the race to zero. And so I'll be looking out for other cities who have similar goals to us as well. So yeah. Thanks for that question. I should have updated that as well. So thanks, Commissioner Cabot.
And Commissioner Evans.
One more thing. Well, first, I just wanted to thank Josie too. I'm very much going to miss your analytical mind and your contributions to these conversations. So thank you for everything that you've done. And I know you've put in so many hours and really gone the extra mile on so much of the content that we've been working on. So thank you. And also wanted to thank Rebecca, because I think I and a bunch of others, maybe not necessarily here, but we've been asking to get EQC openings, applications in Spanish. And thank you, Rebecca, for following up with that. And I believe you received a yes, Rebecca. And I think that that's going to be an important precedent for other commissions and the rest of the city too. Whether hopefully it means we can recruit more applicants from our District 1 that has a much higher percentage of the population who are Spanish speaking than the other districts in our city. And I also think it sends an important signal that we are trying to be inclusive. So thank you, Rebecca, for doing that.
Actually, that brings up a question, which is the postings for the empty spots on the commission. Ms. Lucky, are those on the website, and can you send the commission a link, and can you send me a link too? I have some people I want to suggest apply.
I can definitely do that. And I'll check in with the city clerk too. I think she does distribute it to all the commissions as well. But it was in the Council Digest this week, I want to say, which goes out to subscribers.
So there's a link in there to the position?
Let me check.
Okay.
Let me check.
Okay.
I have the link, Josie. I can send it to you. to that thing, to the piece that Rebecca is referring to.
Commissioner Evans, do you have another update, or is your,
No,
okay,
that's
it's no
just forgetting
problem.
to lower
I
my
just,
hand.
it's totally fine. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. Again, we know this is the last meeting we're having with Josie, and so I know we're all incredibly grateful as we've expressed, but we can express one more time, thank you. And we can adjourn Commissioner Gaylord's last meeting at 8:50 p.m.
Thanks,
Well,
everybody.
Thanks so much for all that leadership and
Yeah.
and analysis and writing. Really helped move us forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. It was
Thank you.
a blast.
Yay.
Good night, guys.
Good night.